you need to make sure that when you're scheduling a follow-up, in addition to timing it properly, that you have a really clear outcome for that follow-up. And that's how you cut down on the amount of time.
When you schedule your follow-ups is mission critical. So make sure you're putting those in the right place at the right time. Just make sure that they're tightened up.
One of the most dangerous things that you can do, and one of the biggest time wasters as well, is to be learning on your sales calls. Many of you right now are using your sales calls as your training ground. And that ain't the way to do it. You need to be listening, watching, practicing, role playing during a fixed window of time on your calendar.
Your training should not be during the windows of the day where you're most likely to get a hold of people and move them forward.
Welcome back to the Coaching Equation Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Lang, CEO and co-founder of Empire Partners, alongside my co-founder and co-host, Brooke Bishop. What's up,
Buenos dias.
Buenos dias to you, my friend. So getting in on some sales conversation today. We've talked on multiple episodes, actually, about different ways that you can improve your conversion rate, improve your overall results in your sales. If you're a business owner, improving your revenue. If you're a salesperson, improving your take home, your commissions, what have you. And today we're going to dive deep on one in particular. And it's one in particular that actually, when we see a true pro, we can tell because of what they're doing with this thing. And the truth is that there are very few of those in the world. Most of the sales teams that we work with, most of the coaches that we work with, most of the salespeople that we work with don't really optimize this part of their game. And that is not just time management, but your entire calendar and schedule, how you're using your time as a salesperson, how you can do it more effectively, how you can optimize it. Because look, just like anything else in the day, we only get so many hours. That's it. And especially when we talk about open time to do selling, there are only so many hours. So we absolutely have to maximize it. And the truth is, what do you think? I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. If we were to try to guesstimate a percentage, what do you think we could see in terms of an increase in results if you took all of these optimizations that we're about to give and implemented them immediately?
I don't know what the percentage would be. I'd probably have to math some things out. But what I can tell you is that the top 2% of producers that are out there, they do these things. And the 98% of the other producers are not doing these things.
Yep, fact. So, all right. Let's go ahead and dig in. We've got several that we're going to unpack today, but the first one is scheduling follow-ups. Now, first things first, you might be, wait, follow-ups? What? I thought I was supposed to close on one call. Go listen to some previous episodes, folks. The one call close is dead. It doesn't mean that we're not going to try. I especially always want to get it done on the first call. However, it's not, the situation is not what it used to be. We have to embrace follow-up. We don't want to spend the whole podcast talking about that. But when we do, there's a right way and a wrong way to do this. So let's start here. Brooke, what's the wrong way to schedule follow-up?
Yeah. So, and this, we might reference this languaging throughout the rest of this episode, but one of the things I lean on heavily is what I call prime time. Because prime time, not just when you're priming in the morning, for anyone who's like, oh, morning routines. We're not talking about that prime time. But the prime time here is just always asking that question, what is the best time that I should do this activity? So I think we have a lot of people who do a lot of activities and it's like, oh, there's an opening on my calendar. So they just put the activity into that spot. And they're not thinking about the overarching outcome of both their day, their week, or the activity itself that they're doing. Now, sometimes we can look at this like, oh, do I work out in the morning first thing on an empty stomach versus do I work out in the afternoon, right? Like those are going to have two different effects, right? Now, as it relates to follow-up as our first piece here of like, when should I do my follow-ups? Well, I can tell you this much. If you know when you are like on point, when you're hitting home runs in your sales calls, your coaching calls, don't book your follow-ups in those prime spots, because that means
Why not?
because now you're taking away a prime opportunity for somebody else, first and foremost. But secondarily, the chances that that follow-up is going to show up, your follow-up calls have a lower show rate than your booked session calls have. So if you're going to take a follow-up call and slot it right into your prime time sales call window, you just shot yourself in the foot, because now you're taking away one piece, and the person who's going to require follow-up, they're going to get more of your time, and the chances of them showing up are lower. So
Yep.
don't do that. Also, don't block out an entire hour. Block out like a sliver of like a 15-minute follow-up call or a 30-minute follow-up call. So don't grenade an entire appointment slot that could otherwise be with somebody else.
You know, one of the things that I want to mention on that, especially relative to not booking an hour, is you need to make sure that when you're scheduling a follow-up, in addition to timing it properly, that you have a really clear outcome for that follow-up. And that's how you cut down on the amount of time. Most of you are not setting specific outcomes for the follow-up. You're not declaring those intentions, and you're not getting aligned on those intentions when you leave the first call. So you have to have an hour, because you're all fucking over the place when you get into your follow-up call. Set a specific outcome and a specific intention, and that'll allow you to whittle down the amount of time. Sometimes you can get it done in 15 minutes. Sometimes it's 30 minutes, whatever. But I agree with you 100% on the hour. The other thing that I want to mention on this is that this is something. First of all, if you are a business owner and you have even one salesperson that is working for you, you need to coach your salesperson or sales team on this, because I promise you, they do not know.
No.
They are, and if you are paying for them to be on the phone, the last thing you want is them grenading the calendar with sales calls in the middle of, as what Brooke calls prime time. You don't want that.
Just to double down on this, it's one of the quickest ways to see a salesperson's rhythm get torpedoed. Because if they're like ramping up, they're ready to go, and in their head they're going, "Oh, I've got a scheduled follow-up." In our salesperson's mind, us or our sales team, we automatically assume that person's showing up and they're giving us a credit card. So we get an endorphin rush. And if we already know internally that they have a higher rate of no-show, we actually grenade ourselves in that window of time. And so now we're also at an additional disadvantage for the sales call that buttons up right behind it. So just there's kind of like a quadruple whammy that can happen there. So yeah, when you schedule your follow-ups is mission critical. So make sure you're putting those in the right place at the right time. Oh, see what we did there? But just make sure that they're tightened up. So I know the next bullet point we have, by the way, I know this is part of your superpower, and I'd love to actually get your inputs, because you get this one done. This is like one of my Achilles heels. I have good intentions for this, but it just never makes it into my orbit. So I'd love to hear about the next bullet point of what we want to optimize and button up.
Yeah. So the next one is training. And what we find more often than not is that people are going into their calls, and it is basically the equivalent of a rock star showing up at a 30,000 person venue that's sold out cold with absolutely no rehearsal time, just winging it and hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And one of the most dangerous things that you can do, and one of the biggest time wasters as well, is to be learning on your sales calls. Now, you should always be able to take something away after the fact. But so many of you right now are using your sales calls as your training ground. And that ain't the way to do it. So when we talk about training, and I'm going to get to another piece of this in just a little bit, but first things first, what if you're in our ecosystem, you should be checking out Close Everyone, and you should be watching, call replays, and you should be going back into the modules. And after you've been through the modules once, you should be doing it again. And after you've been through them twice, you ought to be going through them a third time and now jotting down more distinctions. And then the further down the line that you get, you ought to be going to a very specific part of a very specific module to hone in on a certain 10-minute segment that is there that you really want to drill down on. That's what it looks like to start to develop mastery. And the truth is that if you're always trying to play the game without ever practicing, you're only ever going to get so good. Period. End of story. And the hard part is Brooke, you kind of alluded to this. Like, most people do have good intentions for this. And the intention pretty much is like, oh, okay, well, you know what? If somebody no shows, or if I randomly have an open spot on my calendar, then I guess I'll do some sales training. That is not a recipe for success. You need to schedule that shit into your calendar and know exactly when you're going to do it. And there's nothing else that's happening at that time. Because here's the thing. I was just discussing this with one of our sales teams that we work with the other day, where it's like, look, if let's just say that you're adamant, you're just gonna, anytime that you have an open opportunity during the day, if somebody no shows, a call ends early, whatever, I'm going to do some sales training. Lovely. Well, what happens if everything actually goes according to plan and you don't get that time? You don't train.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. You think it's okay? Was it ever okay for Kobe Bryant to not go practice? No.
No way.
Not only no, but that motherfucker's in the gym at like 4 o'clock in the
4
morning.
a.m. or something crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. 3 hours before anybody else would ever dream of getting there. And he had it scheduled. He knew exactly what he was doing. There was no way he was just going to go try to show up and play. And so you got to make sure that whatever your training materials and resources are, you need to be listening, watching, practicing, role playing during a fixed window of time on your calendar.
So the really interesting piece. So I mentioned the word prime time. I'm going to bring it up again. So I might give a different angle or a different twist on the word prime time. If you're using no-shows, like if I call no-shows and you go, oh, I'm going to do my training right now, I'm just going to be very candid with you. That is not income producing activities during your prime time. So your training should not be during the windows of the day where you're most likely to get a hold of people and move them forward.
Yeah, but Brooke, I listen, I have to protect my energy and I only work from 9 to 4.
Yep. Go back to being a W-2 employee because you have a job, and if you're approaching it this way, you're toast. And no, but seriously, so to the Kobe Bryant sentiment, when I really made that turn where I went, I'm going to play this game like a pro. Guess what? I started waking up at 4 a.m. so that I could drive this back in the day when I had to commute. But as an employee, I would drive into the office at 5 a.m. so that I could be there at 6. Why? Because I knew everybody else was not going to be there till 8 or 9. Why? Because I would do my training and my practice before game day. I'd get all that in so it was fresh. And then when it was prime time, I was doing prime time income producing activities only.
Yep.
Right. So it's such a mission critical piece. And just to double down on what you shared, if you're listening to this, by the way, and you don't have people to practice with, if you don't have an ecosystem to go learn and strategize and take each of these pieces and like figure them out so you're not burning your leads with your practice, Close Everyone is here. We literally meet every single week. We have time dedicated for people to come on, to practice, to do run through, role play, to get feedback, to ask questions, and to really become the sales pro that you're capable of being. So that was my shameless plug for the day.
Yeah, well, yeah, and if you want that, I don't want to leave them hanging. If you want that, just go to gocloseeveryone.com. Very simple, gocloseeveryone.com, and you can learn more. All right, so here's another one. In terms of call times, this is an interesting one. Yeah, I mean, we could really go. There's so much that we could do on this, but this is really an interesting one because I think a lot of people don't think about it. What they have a tendency to do is just go, well, what would be convenient for me? And that's usually the way that they arrange their calendar. So where are we going wrong here, buddy?
I'll hit it from the boring pieces, but they're so freaking critical. And the reason I frame it that way is it has a lot to do with math. So I tracked the ever-loving shit out of call duration. So how long the call was, right? So if we're looking at sales calls as a metric, are these 30-minute calls? Are they 45? Are they 60 minutes? Are they 90 minutes? Are these 2-hour calls? Are these 3-hour calls? We know somebody who loves to do 3-hour calls, right? Don't be that person. But when we tracked this, what we saw over the course of time was 60 minutes for a scheduled sales call was optimum. If you're running a 60-minute call, at the 45-minute marker, you should be turning that corner where you're laying out your offering so you have enough window of time to make a buying decision. If you're going beyond it, every single minute that went past that 60-minute marker, we saw a drop off of conversion rate. Okay, we've tracked this across, I don't even know how many hundreds, if not thousands of people, let alone sales teams. If you're going shorter than 60 minutes for your call, if you're really good, can you enroll somebody? Yes, you can. But what we saw, I actually tracked the crap out of it, of trying to do a 60-minute call in a 30-minute window. The conversion rates did drop. Not crazy, not as crazy as I thought, but here was the kick. As I went to doing 30-minute calls, which meant that I opened up my calendar for 16 sales calls a day, by the end of the day, I was just melted. There was too many stories, too many names, too many things that were just like in my brain. I couldn't personally hold on to that much information over the course of time. It just became, yeah, I'm running marathons. Yeah, I'm enrolling a lot of people. However, my personal experience got melted. So that was the first piece of make sure that you're scheduling things properly. Did you want to go a different route down that? Because I've got like 4 other angles I want to hit, and I don't know if we're having
keep going. Keep going.
Okay, so here's the other big one, and this was huge. So when I had a sales team, I had about 60 people that were on my sales team, and what I saw, I had one person. Oh, they were the repeat offender. They loved booking their appointments on the half-hour marker. Now you might be sitting there listening, like, Brooke, you're a control freak. What do you mean you didn't let them book on the half-hour mark? Yes, that's what I'm saying. Why? Here's why. We get what we tolerate. And if they opened up their calendar and if they flexed for their prospects, for their leads to say, oh, I know we're supposed to schedule on the hour, and Brooke said, don't do this. And I know I'm supposed to book you at the 1:00 mark. I'm going to book you at the 1:30 because I want to be a really loving person who's going to flex for your calendar. I'm just telling you right now, you are shooting yourself in the foot. Here's why. The first reason, number one, you're bending your own rules to accommodate your clients, which means they're not bending to get into your orbit. Okay. So it's really important piece as it goes from a filtering standpoint and a positioning or a posturing. Are they going to change their world to help get the outcome that they want? If they're not willing to bend, they're going to be a pain in the ass client down the road, guaranteed. Number two, if you bend now, they're going to expect you to bend later. Okay. And then here's the math part. So we're going to get some more boring math in here, and then I want to get your inputs on this. The math part is this. If you move one meeting in the day to the half-hour marker, let's say you run 8 sales calls a day. And I know some of you might be sitting there going, oh, I've never.
What?
8 sales calls.
I could never.
I would be melted.
Brooke.
Well, they probably feel like the way I did was 16. So maybe I shouldn't judge.
Yeah.
So, but if you normally allow for 8 and you move one meeting to the half-hour marker, you've just now moved your day into a 7-meeting day, which again, not a huge deal for one day, but that means if you make this move every day, that means that you just went from 8 times 5 days a week. So that's 40. You just went down to 35. So you just went from 40 appointment slots down to 35. If you do that over the course of a month and you work a traditional month, that's 21 meetings that you just knocked out. If you're working 12 months this year, that means you take 21 meetings times 12. I don't even know what the math is. You could probably do it quicker. But let's just call it 250 meetings that you just shaved off of your year. Well, if you enroll 20% of the people you talk to, and that's 250 meetings, that's 50. Is that right? 50 enrollments? I think that's right. That's 50 enrollments times whatever the heck you charge that you just shaved off of your bottom line.
Ouch.
So I know that was a lot of math, and I'm hoping you guys pulled over and just like wrote down the numbers to double back to make sure it crunched. But when you're doing this kind of volume and when you're running your own business, can you afford to give 50 clients to your competitors or to not bring it in as revenue? Like that's a big deal. And it literally comes down to, did you book it on the half hour or did you book it on the hour?
Yep. The one other thing that I want to hit on this, you're so spot on. One other thing that I want to hit on this is the actual time of day that you're running your sales calls. Now, if you're a business owner, one of the things that you probably ought to take a look at is what is the time zone coverage of your team? If you have a team of people and they're all on Eastern time, you've got nobody that's covering, the people that are on Pacific and vice versa. And we've seen this, and it's not to say that it absolutely has to be that way. I mean, I would rather get better salespeople than worry about like where in the country are they. But optimally, if you can get some balance as a business owner in this, it's great. And one of the things that you want to think about is if you are a salesperson or if you're running your own business and doing your own sales calls, which is probably most of the people listening right now, I think you want to make sure that you're paying attention to your specific industry and your specific niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when are these people available? And you aligning your calendar to what is convenient for you ain't the way to do it. Certainly not until you reach a certain threshold. Like, that's actually a really good way where if you want to throttle things down, like if you're doing really well and you're like, woo, I don't think I want any more right now, or I want to try to kind of throttle how many people are coming in because I need to stabilize things. Great. Get as fucking convenient as you want. But, when you're trying to get more clients, you need to optimize this to other people's schedules, not your own. So,
and we had a client. They did practice management for chiropractors, and they were previously a chiropractor. And so in the world of chiropractic, if you guys don't know, usually they'll take off Tuesdays and Thursdays because that's their day to get caught up on paperwork and insurance, and they can reduce their overhead for staffing. So if you go to a chiropractic office, they're usually doing adjustments Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, as an example. Now, when this guy went into doing practice management, leaving his chiropractic business, he set his schedule up the same way because he loved having those days that way. Well, guess what? He was taking off the time that the chiropractors were all taking off their time. And then he was working and he couldn't figure out why no one was booking appointments with him because he was available when they weren't, and vice versa. So yeah, what you just said, Ryan, really critical. Walk through the shoes of your prospects and figure out when are these guys available and how do I structure things?
Yep. Amen. All right. So stepping up onto my soapbox. This next one, you guys have, if you listen to this show, you've heard me mention this before, and you're going to hear me mention it a lot more times. And that is listening to your calls. So when we talk about scheduling, what set time do you have set aside to listen to your calls? Now, if we circle back to the training and say, okay, well, I'm going to kind of like weave that into my training time, fine. So be it. I'm good with that. But once again, this is another one of those things that people just leave by the wayside, or it's like, oh, I'll get to it if something else doesn't happen or does happen or whatever. And most people don't listen to their calls. I swear to God, if I had a nickel for every time I'm on a call with a sales team or with our clients, love you guys, and I'm like, hey, how many of you guys are listening to your calls? It's like, what? Usually there's that one teacher's pet that's like, oh, me, hey, I'm doing it, I'm listening. Everybody else is like sheepish, like,
don't pick me, don't call on me,
I don't know. Yeah. Hey, look, man, if there are very few things that are going to be a better use of your time than listening to your own sales calls. And sometimes it's great to just grab a call and just listen and grab as much as you can from it. Other times, especially when you're focused on something specific, which, like, for example, when we do call reviews here, in our Close Everyone program, we give people a couple of very specific things that we want them to work on. Well, if that's the case and you've got something very specific, say I go, okay, Bob, I want you to go back and I need you to go deeper in discovery. Great. Well, now you can go hone in specifically on your discovery process, right? And I can go directly to that. There's multiple ways to do it. But this is really the equivalent of listening to, or watching game tape as an athlete. The best in the world, I mean, Tom Brady, obsessive when it comes to game tape. Peyton Manning, obsessive when it comes to game tape, right? The best of the best are watching not just what they're, to recognize what they're doing. They're looking at what their opponents are doing. They're listening. If you're on a team, one of the most valuable things you can do, listen to your own calls. But every once in a while, if you got somebody who's like on fire on your sales teams, go get one of those freaking calls and listen, find out what they're doing. Doesn't mean that you got to do it exactly the right way, but guys, we get farther faster together. So it's listening to your calls, listening to other people's calls, and making absolutely certain that you've got specific time carved out for doing that. And it's not another one of those activities that's just like, oh, I'll do it if, I get a no-show.
Yeah, no, I love that you bring this up, because I know that this is like one of your many super, super duper powers. Back in the day when I was really frontline selling, we didn't have call recording systems back then. And so listening to our recorded calls consisted of us getting one half of the conversation, right? Because it was back in the days of tape recorders, or, we did have digital recorders, but it was always on one side of the call. And so there's so much technology now that can be leveraged to help support this. And if you're not using the tools to do it, like, dear God, I wish I could have, I wish we had that. It's part of why we honestly created the sales journals, that was what I had access to back in the day. And I know you as well, is we would take copious notes on every call. And we were trying to hunt in the middle of the call to figure out what are the nuances and where should we hit the brakes and what's working and what's not. We had to really be mindful back then. Whereas now I wish we had these tools back then. Oh my God. Could you imagine being able to take the calls or get transcripts of your calls, or leverage AI to give you feedback on your calls? Or like, dude, it's a new world, man.
It's easy. Honestly, you're so right. And it's easier than it's ever been. There's so many different tools that are available. And I think the other part of it is that, number one, it gives you less excuse for not doing it. But we get way more than we've ever been able to get in terms of insights with the tools that are available. Yeah. And I just want to say one thing right now. Somebody listening to this podcast right now is like, I'm not recording my sales calls. For the love of God, please start recording your sales calls. No, don't not record your sales calls. And if you are a business owner and you have some people on your sales team, you don't gotta micromanage them at all.
Please don't.
Everybody who knows me well, please don't do that. That's not what I'm advocating here, but you damn well better know that those frickin' calls are getting recorded. You need to know. You need it for liability purposes. You need it for training purposes. And to take it one step further, on the subject of being a pro, when you've got sales calls recorded, I can't tell you how much money I have made because I had call recordings. And when I went for my follow-up, I directly referenced exactly what was said in that call. In fact, I can't tell you how much money I've made like a year later. When I was back just selling, somebody else had talked to somebody 2 years ago. We had the call recording. I got to go back and listen to the damn thing, which I did. Most people don't, by the way. They just wing it because they're lazy. Go back, listen to the call recording, and it's like, oh, hey, I see, you talked to Joe back, in 2021. I got a chance to chat with Joe for just a second. He talked about how you really want to blah, 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 blah. People are like, what?
Dude, I'm so glad you brought this one up, because just in reflecting back, the moment I told my team, hey, we're going to be recording calls, or hey, we're going to put call monitoring on, you saw them, all the blood rush out of their face and their butts puckered up. But the second part was, it was a guaranteed 5 to 10% increase in conversion rate, because they knew that the better version of them had to show up, because, oh God, what if I'm judged? It was the wildest thing where so gamify this for yourself. If you go, I'm going to record these calls and I know that I'm going to do it, it's going to hold you to a way higher standard. And that fear of judgment, let's use it to our advantage here instead of having it be a detriment. Like, pucker up, get ready. Here we go.
Yep. Amen. Well, to round things out here,
don't let me talk about this, because I suck at this last one, by the way. This is not Brooke is
You
not
do
allowed to have an
suck.
opinion on this last one because I suck at this last piece of the puzzle.
You do. You do. To round things out, now that we've talked about all of these active things that you can and should be doing, how are you scheduling in your breaks? Now, if you are running your own business and you're lucky enough to have a full slate of calls, this applies to you. If you are a salesperson and you are working on somebody's team who is providing you, lucky you, with a full slate of calls, this applies to you. Guys, it's not optimal to just run back to back to back to back to back to back to back calls. If we can do it, and some days, look, if you've done sales long enough, you've had the days where it just happens this way. And despite your best efforts, man, you are starting, and like the best you can do is just haul ass to go to the bathroom for 2 minutes during the day. It'll happen that way sometimes. But by and large, you are going to be better if you get up and you walk away and you walk around a little bit and you change your physiology and you get a little food, you get a little water, you give your brain a break, you go do something completely different for just a minute. Having those breaks is absolutely vital, and maintaining and sustaining your energy over the course of a day is really, really important. I certainly know, people like, dude, you are a machine. And I know we've both done it, but you totally are a machine, and not that you like it, but you would totally go back to back to back to back to back.
I found a little bit of a hack. And so I'm scared to even say it because if there's anybody else out there that's crazy. Well, here, let's just put it this way. I think we have a lot of people who do the opposite of this, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot more people that are like, I need to have 90 minutes for my call, and I've got to have 30 minutes to recover after. And I've got to make sure that I go do my earthing and my grounding, and I've got to do my clearing and my cord cutting. And there's more energy on the back of their engagements than there is on the front. If you're part of that camp,
good point.
Tighten it up, get more efficient, and then structure your breaks to support. If you're like me on the other side, the way that I've found some creative ways to do this is I'll schedule like 3 to 5 minutes between my calls.
There you go. Yep.
But what I've done is I've hijacked the nervous system to where I don't need 30 minutes or 3 hours, to where I have, like, if I could turn the camera, not that anybody can see this anyways on the podcast, but like I've got a trampoline in my office. And so that 3 to 5 minutes, I will do what, most people would probably need 30 minutes to 3 hours. I'll go jump on the trampoline and crank the music and move my body as much as I can to try and reset the system so that my nervous system is not just getting racked. But yeah, no, I, in reality, and I'm saying this publicly, I know I could be better with my breaks. Somebody out there hold me to it. So this is how we're going to know if you're listening to this episode, is somebody's going to be like, Brooke, you need to take more breaks.
Well, I literally just made Carrie, our executive assistant, adjust my appointment times. So I have been guilty of this lately myself. And I was like, all right, this has got to stop. This is ridiculous. It's got to stop. So I'm eating my own cooking here. But it is important. And to Brooke's point, I mean, listen, if you flip this around and right now you're like, oh, I don't like my revenue numbers. Oh, I don't have enough sales. You're fucking running 3 sales calls a day with like 90-minute windows and huge blocks in between each sales call. What are you doing? Is that really the optimal way to get to your outcome? I think one of the things that we all have to look at, Brooke, is whether you tend to be on either side of the spectrum, whether you're like, ooh, I tend to run hot and I would just go, or you're like, ooh, I kind of like to be real flowy and I got to like have a 2-hour long version of Kumbaya with my flute in between my sales calls. And there's nothing wrong with flutes or Kumbaya, by the way. They're all fine. But, if you run that way, either way, guys, there's value in asking the question, is what I'm doing right now truly, is it the optimal way for me to be in service to the goals and outcomes that I'm committed to? Yes or no? Yeah. Is it possible that there would be another way? Is it possible? Because I love your point about the 3 to 5 minute breaks, because most people are like, oh, if I don't have 10, there's no break. Is that really true?
Dude,
right?
10
Is
minutes?
it?
Have you ever sat down and looked at the clock and watched it for 10 whole minutes and just watch every second turn?
I know.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hijack you there, but I'm like, a 10-minute break for me, I'd be like twitchy.
Yeah, you would be twitchy. You would be twitchy. Well, we're about at time for this episode, but I hope that you found this valuable. This is one in particular that I can tell you, if you would take everything that we gave you today and go implement, you would massively level up your results. What Brooke said at the beginning of this episode is that basically you would put yourself in the top 2% of salespeople on the planet. Imagine that for a minute. Imagine what would happen to you in your business, in your sales career, if you were in the top 2%. What would those results be like? What would that revenue be like? What would that take-home pay be like? What the amount of lives that you're changing, what would that be like? The impact that you're making. So trust us when we tell you this is another one of those things that sounds boring, and it's fundamental and nobody does it. So go back, listen to this episode again. Make sure that if you are driving or you're out for a run or something like that, come back and capture the distinctions and the notes from this episode, so that you can start implementing this. And look, if you're not doing any of this shit right now, and most of you probably aren't, don't try to do it all at once. It doesn't have to be that way. Take one at a time and get one of them right. Nail it down for 2 weeks, 4 weeks, then move on to the next one. And do us a solid and let us know how it's going. In fact, by the way, you can let us know how it's going by going to our new podcast website it's just coachingequation.com, coachingequation.com. It's our brand new podcast website. All of the episodes are available there. And if you look in the lower right-hand corner, there's like a little microphone. I'm so fucking jazzed up about this. There's this little microphone where you can actually leave us a voicemail. So I would be honored after you listen to this episode if you would go leave us a voicemail, let us know how you like it. There's also a place on the website to leave a review. It's super simple. We would be honored and grateful if you would do that as well. And thank you for listening to this episode of the Coaching Equation Podcast. Until next time, take care.
Take care, everybody.